All right, folks, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, and we got the Christmas poll results today. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and share them far and wide. If you happen to hear Scrooge blasting in the background over here, that's because that's what's on. I'm feeling holly jolly. Americans are feeling holly jolly, and they're feeling holly jolly this Christmas season. But also, bottom line, as you're going to see in a little bit, and some of this I'm going to save for Friday, they are feeling better about the future in general. All right. So don't forget, like the videos, share the videos, but the best place, of course, to follow us is right there. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. All right. If you are a Locals member, then you already know what I'm going to say, where I'm going to go here with some of this stuff now that we have the final numbers. And really, this was maybe needed to give Americans a little bit to breathe, get through Thanksgiving, roll into Christmas. Man, that's loud, Scrooge. Roll into Christmas. And then the response rates kicked back up and got better. And they certainly improved. And a lot of people wanted to talk. All right. And I mean, a lot of different kind of people, a lot of it. So it was a very well represented poll, even in the raw data. So if you're a Locals member and you're watching the Locals live stream, where we took a little sneak peek at the results of this poll, the 2024 Christmas poll, and then don't expect a whole lot to have changed. Again, I'm going to save some of this for Friday's show, but you're going to see it in the press release anyway. So the fact of the matter is, we'll get a sneak peek of some of this other stuff. But one thing before we get into the Christmas stuff, which the link is, you know what? I'll have to give it to you guys on Locals. Don't worry. I will make this bigger. No, Locals, you already have it. Just refresh your link. And when you refresh it, you'll see it'll be chock full of stuff now. If you are a YouTube member, how on earth am I going to give you this without giving it to all right, I got it. I'm going to go to the community page on YouTube, and I'm going to just send a community post, which is for members. All right. And it's a simple thing. I'm just going to write 2024 Christmas poll, exclamation, 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 and post. All right, go get it. It's on the community channel. You can go and take a look with us because it is so darn small, even on the screen when I put it on full screen, which I'm going to do right now and close the door because I hear Scrooge getting walked through the ghost of Christmas present. That's present. And it is loud. All right. So, all right, what has changed since, and this is, I guess, a part of faith, right? What has changed since 2024 and today, 2023 and today, is just a little bit more optimism and a little bit, a lot more optimism and confidence because, mind you, we did the registered voter economic confidence poll. We asked people straight up on a Likert scale, are you satisfied, dissatisfied with the outcome of the election? Do you approve of how Donald Trump is handling the transition? What is your opinion of Donald Trump? What is your opinion of Donald Trump's cabinet picks? All of this stuff. And you can see, like, one thing I told Locals, and I'll say now, even before we get into the results of that side of the poll, which the Christmas poll is front loaded. Okay. This way we don't inject any politics into Christmas or any of these other religious beliefs. We just simply ask it after we front load the Christmas questions. And then we get into how we conduct normally a regular poll. Economic confidence first, then, right? Biden, approval, right track, wrong track. I'm not necessarily in that order. You guys know right track, wrong track comes first. Then Biden's approval, Trump's approval, favorabilities, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So, we asked all of this. And one thing I told Locals in the sneak peek, and I'll tell you now, is that it is not very common for presidents to have negative ratings as badly as Donald Trump had during some of his term, especially at the end there with COVID, when everyone started blaming him for COVID, right or wrong. They don't anymore, by the way. And then him or anyone, him, she, whatever, have this image makeover when someone is so universally known and opinions of them are so strong. So what you're going to see is really tantamount to, I don't know, it is historic. It is first ever because we've never had a president return to the White House in our lifetime. Grover Cleveland, of course, was the last one to do it. And he didn't really do it on popular vote, as you know, right? Not the same kind of a system. Basically, he was removed by a bunch of guilds and then they destroyed everything. And he came back a term later. All right. But, we didn't have public opinion gauges the way we have today. And so Donald Trump really does stand alone in his ability to do this. I did liken it to Rick Scott. And real quick, just talk. Give me one. Thanks. I did liken it to Rick Scott in Florida. He always ran and he won, but he won with like 40% favorabilities, 42%. And we used to have him a little bit higher, but 44, ballpark. He used to win like that, but he was never really liked. He did it twice for governor. And then we call him the giant killer because first he took down the Sink family. He took down Krispy Kreme, right? The former governor who once was popular until he was a rhino and then turned turncoat. And now nobody liked him, but still he was a very big name. And then he took down Bill Nelson, what was largely believed to be a moderate Democratic senator, Mr. NASA astronaut superstar, former pilot, blah, 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 right? He got votes from Monroe County Republicans, a lot of them. So for Rick Scott to be able to beat him was already a huge and monumental feat. But how he beat him was really on his road from being governor before Hurricane Irma and governor after Hurricane Irma. And I watched it, I polled it, I witnessed it. The man, the way he led, he turned his image around with that state, and then he folded that into a campaign against Bill Nelson, where he really conducted outreach to different groups, not just, he knew maybe I'll lose some white Republicans, so I got to win some non-white independents. And he went after particularly Hispanic women, but certainly others. But I was raised by a single mother. But it's Rick Scott. He's the governor of Florida at the time. Now he's a senator, but even as a senator, he is not universally known. Even as a governor of a state, a two-time governor of a state, he didn't have the name recognition just within that subpopulation that Donald Trump has nationwide. So already that was like a really incredible, noteworthy turn of events. And this is even more noteworthy, is my point, because when you see the numbers, honestly, they're really truly unbelievable. I mean, it's not unbelievable, but remarkable, because the man was so hated by what appeared to be, at least, so many. And the vitriol, was just so, it was venom level toxicity. And now these people are relegated to not even a plurality, but I don't want to say weak minority. I mean, there's still about a third, but that's all that's left. There is no 45% I can't stand him anymore, as so many people argued during the primary. And as we told you during the primary, was already the case. Trump was already on an image makeover rebound heading into the midterm elections. It just solidified, and now it's positive and majority positive, and kind of comfortably so. All right, so stay tuned for that. All right, jingle. Let's get into it. All right, same questions we usually ask every year that we think really do give it the flavor, right? Do you celebrate Christmas? And honestly, it's up a little. All right, I told locals, don't expect for something to change all of that much. And it is, considering the margin of error in this poll, the sampling error in this poll is so low. I mean, any kind of movement at all you're kind of looking at, but 91.8%. Last year it was 91, so it ticked a little higher, but 91.8%. Can't wait to go over this with Jack Posobiec, by the way. He loves the Christmas poll. There is some interesting stuff with the Christmas poll. It's like, wait a minute. Not even 91% or 92% would call themselves Christian in this country. I'd celebrate Christmas. Well, there's a few things going on here. One, as we pointed out last year, just because you say that you have no religious affiliation does not mean you do not believe in God. Also, as you will see, there's still I don't want to say it's secular celebration of Christmas, but there are certainly people who don't take it too seriously as far as the religious aspect of it. And that still, of course, do celebrate it. Then also deep diving into it, which is, by the way, what I was doing all last night, where I should have been getting you the crosstab, but it was fascinating. Deep diving into it, what you will see is like, this is going to sound nuts. For anyone who was around in 2016, it's so crazy. I'm about to say something like this. This is like Trump's diversity in America. You see people who, and because they voted for Trump. They're telling you they voted for Trump. All right. They're like married and Muslim or married and Jewish, and they voted for Donald Trump. And it's like a Muslim who's married to a Jew, or a Muslim who's married to someone who doesn't believe in God at all, or a Christian, or a Jew who's married to a Christian. I mean, it's just incredible. And with all of these overlapping groups, they have like cross celebration holidays. It's unbelievable. And you will find it more among Trump voters than you will among Harris voters. And I think that's kind of obvious, though. I mean, if you really think about it, because the much more secular, group in this country is more democratic. So whether if you're a much more faithful Jew or you're a much more faithful Muslim, you're kind of sharing something in common with faithful Christians, which is that you're more likely to vote for Trump than your secular counterparts. Okay? I know it's nuts. It's nuts. God, I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me zoom in a little. I just hate when I zoom in too much. Okay. Let me take a look at your screen just to see if that's any better. Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's better. We'll do one more, but if I have to do one more and it's that's too buggy, guys. I want you to be able to see a little bit more at the whatever. Let's just keep it there. Okay. As you can see by age, this should be very positive. If you're somebody who celebrates Christmas and you're somebody who's a person of faith in the country, you should feel very good about this center of the country, right? By age, this chunk. And by the way, they're center by ideology and everything else. And by the way, they also voted for Trump in much higher numbers. So they're slightly more likely to celebrate Christmas. They're also going to be slightly more likely to say that they take it more religious. And you'll understand. So you have this generation that's getting older and they're a little bit more secular. It's kind of crazy. But they also celebrate Christmas at a less higher rate. I think some of them are like Scrooge syndrome. I got them in my family. You got them in your family. They get older and they kind of don't care anymore. All right. But there's also another element to it. We've talked about this when we talk about what group of people that are seniors are actually getting more democratic. And super seniors, I suppose, and I suspect when you look at those numbers, they celebrate it at a little less rate. That's age related, right? But some of that in the 65 to 74 category where they're more able, that's not age related. What I believe is very simple. All right. You have flower children getting older, and they were once upon a time, voting against Nixon, and they were once upon a time voting against Ronald Reagan. I mean, these are Mondale voters, for crying out loud, right? Now they're older. Now they're seniors, and they're secular. And if you're a person of faith and you celebrate Christmas, it's kind of good news to see that you're 14 points higher among the 30 to 39 category, because it means maybe religious identification in this country may be on the decline, but it doesn't necessarily mean your values, are on the decline as well. In fact, Laura and I were talking about this. It appears to me that the secular left missed a generation. They pissed off mine, which is the millennial generation. They were young. 9/11 happens. Everyone's told about weapons of mass destruction. They go on to hate the Republican Party and basically everything they stand for. But somehow that got flipped on their head because they were never like super, super secular. They were raised, in faithful homes, most of them. But also, as they get older and they get into life, things happen. In the Obama era, it's a huge disappointment to them. Jobs after the Great Recession never come back. There's this whole debate over why that happened, right? And in the middle of it all is this cultural war against their values. and Democrats overstepped a little bit. And then you have a younger generation, even younger than that. Maybe technology, maybe the media and entertainment industries like loosening grip on culture has something to do with this. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. We were kind of kicking this around together last night talking about it. Maybe it's because they care more about what TikTokers have to say than they do what Brian Stelter has to say, or some schmuck comedian or something on Netflix or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I maybe kind of suspect that's why it's where they're getting their information from. But like between these two groups of people, it appears that the secular left and this cultural movement that hit me when I was growing up, right? It was very, very real in the 90s. So if you were growing up and you were in high school in the 90s, it was not only like, of course, duh, are you stupid? Like, that's not a baby, and whatever, health class, replacing gym class for 2 days out of the week. And your gym coach doubles as your health instructor who tells you it's just a blob of cells. For those of you who are my age, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So maybe that just like they missed this. I don't know. And this is definitely worth studying, but it's a good sign if you're somebody who holds these values, obviously. All right. All right. Also by race. Can we do this by race real quick? I would love to do this by race. As you can see, it's widespread across the board. African Americans are just slightly less likely, but whites, Hispanics, even Asians are almost as likely as other African Americans. But whites and Hispanics celebrate Christmas at higher rates than others, although everyone is generally a higher rate, with Asians and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders being less so. But of course, that subgroup is even smaller, even when you consider oversampling. It's only about 24 interviews. So it's not going to make that much of a difference. You could see it. And we saw this kind of same thing last year. But there was some groups that were, again, subgroups that have higher sampling errors, especially when they're small. Subgroups, smaller they are, the higher the sampling error is. So I'm not going to take too much volatility there. And I'm not going to take it too seriously. We'll just have to see how it goes. But as far as whites, Hispanics, African Americans, there it is. Also of note, I just want to point this out. I think the era of I think that the Hispanic subgroup being the second largest subgroup in a national voting eligible population, I think this is permanent now. Okay. I think we're going to see this going forward. It was only slightly more. Could there be a Democratic candidate who reinvigorates the Black community to come out and vote in large numbers and higher shares of their eligible population than Hispanics? I mean, I suppose, but the problem that they're going to have is that their population growth is much larger, and they've now seen the power of their own vote. And we saw that with Black Americans in the 80s, in the Jesse Jackson era. Once they realized the power of their own vote, their voting rates began to skyrocket. If Republicans keep these voters, this will change the dynamic for a long time. And I'm going to show you why. Bear with me. Bear with me. All right. Do you put up, well, no, let's look real quick at some other stuff. By ideology, you'll see that, of course, no shocker here, conservatives celebrate Christmas at a higher rate than liberals, although it's not that much. And certainly higher than moderates, but it's not that much. 95% of conservatives celebrate Christmas. Only 89% of liberals do, and 91% of those who have a moderate ideology. Of course, if we look by Republican identification, America First is slightly more likely to say that they celebrate Christmas than traditional Republicans. It's not a great deal. It's about 2%. And the unsure category, as we discussed a lot, is really a bunch of America Firsters who really just don't want to tell people they're America First. I also am really starting to be out of love with this term, traditional Republicanism. It is more like Rockefeller Republicanism or Bushism. All right. But that would give a negative connotation. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. Say something maybe like traditional Republicanism, otherwise known as Rockefeller Republicanism, or something like that. I don't know what I want to do with it yet, but saying you're traditional is misleading. You're not a traditional Republican if you're a Bill Kristol Republican. You're not a traditional Republican if you're one of the rats. All right. Republicans against Trump. You're not. You're just not. I mean, you represent a very short window in modern Republican Party history that does not comport with the rest of the history of the party. Right? So it's media talk. All right. Something you may notice, by the way, right now. First of all, obviously, independents who identify more with Republicans than they do with Democrats celebrate Christmas at a slightly higher rate. Those are equally aligned with the two parties, are right there, 90.4 compared to 91.1. It's not that big of a difference. They're higher than those who identify with the Democratic Party, however. And then those who share little in common, which is why this was such a key voting block for Donald Trump, because they're not very religious. A lot of them are pretty secular, all right? And they don't like establishment anything, government, uh, corporations, even religion. So the fact that Trump did so well with the share little in common with either, when Republicans in general struggle with this group of independents, is a big deal. Was a big deal, and we can see it. You might also be able to see right off the bat, that there are a lot more independents this month who identify with Republicans than who identify with Democrats. And the overall sample of the poll, by the way, is a little over R+1. It's really like R+1.5. This is totally common. This is very common. A Republican just won the presidency. We saw under Joe Biden that there was a spike in Democratic identification as soon as he was before he even got sworn in. We could see that there was a spike as well. All right, this is very, very common. Now, the problem Democrats have is, how far is this going to go? Because by the time he's sworn in, this will be R+4. I'm almost positive I could tell you that's going to happen. And the fact of the matter is, the electorate this year was Republican, more Republican than it's been in a while. And you got to wonder, how long is that going to continue for, right? All right. So you're not talking to me, right? No, she's not talking to me. So, okay, there you have it. Let's look at Let's look at I guess education. Sure. I don't want to stay too much time on one question. I gotta stuff this into a lot of information in a short amount of time. You can see post grads, 89%. They're the only ones technically in the 80s, but they're not that far off. It's generally all around. All right. Religion certainly does matter. I mean, it's just fun to look at. We talked about this before. You have no religion, you're still 86%. 75.7% of Muslims still say they do, and 59% of Jews still say they do. And that is very clear as to why that is. It's because, oh my God, we have this backwards. But anyway, it's because they're across marriages, they're across families, and they're celebrating the holiday with their loved ones, period. Right? A lot of that comes from that. Protestants, by far, of course, more than secular people, but look, expect that. 96%. Catholics, 97%. All right, 96.5. So right in there. Another religion has to be moved over, but whatever. 95%. Still a lot. Evangelicals, no shocker. They're going to be like, bang, right? 97%. If you are an evangelical, 97% will celebrate Christmas. It's like, who are the other 3%, right? Urban areas, 91. Rural's 93. Suburban's 92. So while we like to kind of like generalize people, the fact of the matter is the Hallmark movie themes are generally correct. I mean, you can go to New York City and there is Christmas everywhere. New York City used to be my favorite place to be during Christmas. So just because you're from a rural town in like Vermont or something called Evergreen, all right, it doesn't make you more likely to celebrate Christmas by much. All right? And by the way, the suburbs are right in the middle there. Okay. By division, which is census divisions, of course, New England always has a high rate. This happened again. This is consistent since we've been asking this question. New England has quite a high rate from when it comes to celebrating Christmas, even though they tend to be bluer and more secular. They love themselves some Christmas, right? The South Atlantic is actually less at 89.8, but generally speaking, you can see it. East, North, Central, where Trump did much, much better this year than he had even in an election he won in 16. That actually came in at the highest mark. All right. So interesting stuff. When you break it down by region, though, are some areas of the country more holly jolly than others? Not really. The Midwest is holly jolly as hell. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's statistical noise or what, but this kind of happened last year too. All right. And with so many people moving to the South from different areas, I'm not surprised that this is starting to get spread out a little bit. Okay. All right. Do you put up a Christmas tree? Let's go through. First of all, let's do race. Actually, no. Let's do age. I kind of feel like age is really important because you're talking about the future and the past and what's going to happen, right? 94%, 30 to 39. And I thought to myself, maybe it's just because they're younger and it's easier for them to go throw that tree up. Younger people don't do it, young people. But like you're 30 to 39, you're in that prime age. Last year, it wasn't quite like that. So it was just a little interesting. As you get older, you don't put up a Christmas tree at the rates you did when you were younger. I mean, I think some of this is to be expected, right? Do you put up decorations other than Christmas trees? Of course, you know where we're headed with this. It's 87.5% total. But if you look at the 18 to 24 category, it's almost that average, the national average. 25 to 29 is actually above it. So it's 30 to 39, which I'm not surprised. 40 to 49, also not surprised. It starts to taper off as people get to be 50 to 64. Now that I'm 43, I'm starting to understand why. It is December 18th, and Laura and I are still not done yet. Of course, we go nuts, as you guys know, but this would be done at December 15th. All right. And I've also been very busy with work. But the fact of the matter is, I'm 43 years old and I just can't do everything as fast as I used to. Right. Especially with more work and more. Honestly, it feels like more work the older I get is being piled on me. Maybe some of that is just perception, but this doesn't surprise me at all. Now, here we go. This is one of my favorites. Do you display decorations with a religious meaning? And we word the question like this. Do you or your family do the following to celebrate Christmas or not? And then we tick off a list. Okay. 56 this year, folks. 56 this year said that they display decorations that have a religious meaning. All right. It's technically a little higher. It's in the same ballpark. But what's more interesting to me was by age. Look at the 25 to 29. That's what I was saying when feel like the secular left missed a generation. The 25 to 29 age group is actually more likely than any other age group to say that they're going to put up a decoration that has religious meaning, such as a nativity scene. Now, if it was 30 to 39, which is about around the national average, I would say, well, right, because they told us they put up more Christmas trees, more decorations. This is something. And that's why the box is blue, by the way. It's indicating that there's statistical significance. They did not say that by some, they were not significantly more likely to say anything else that would make us think that this is just a pattern by age. That tells us this group may actually be a little bit more spiritual. Do I want to call it religious? No. But I do want to call it spiritual. All right. And there's going to be a little bit more evidence of that in a second. Although it's not as pronounced, but taking the two together, you'll see what I mean. All right. Getting together with friends or family on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. 90% of us are going to do that. 89.6%. 88 point, these guys are probably still 18 and 24. Some of them are probably still going out, doing their own thing, but it's still overwhelming. 91.8 for the 25 to 29 category, slightly more than the 30 to 39 and the 40 to 49, and it tapers off from there. Still, though, even our seniors in our family, someone's going to go pick up grandma and grandpa, and they're going to go bring them over to the family house, or maybe they live with their families, right? And they're still going to celebrate. Still a high number, all right? Certainly more than those who told us in that age group they were going to put up a Christmas tree. right? So they're still going to go and celebrate with our friends and our families, which is good because nobody should be alone on Christmas. All right. Do you attend religious services on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? Again, look at the age group 25 to 29. Overall, the country is slightly negative on this. Only 46% say they're going to go to a religious service. Another 49 says, probably not. 4.5% have no opinion on it. The 18 to 24 is positive, and it's majority, which is already noteworthy. But the 25 to 29 is like solidly majority and positive, folks. 18 to 24, 51% say that they will go. 42% say they will not. 25 to 29, 55% say they're going to go. 10 religious services on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and 39.6% said they will not. So again here, there's some evidence here that this like cultural secular push in our society has missed these people. Yet the number is still not as large as the people who are going to participate in the holiday, or by the way, even think about it in a religious fashion. Remember, what percentage in that age group said they were going to put up a religious decoration, such as a nativity scene? It's more than that. It's a little more than 6 in 10. So I can't stress enough how established religion is struggling, when in fact, spirituality may not be on the level that we expect. This is actually, I don't want to say worse. This is more pronounced this year. Even though we could identify it in last year's Christmas poll, this one's actually more pronounced. Because now too, and not to tie this into politics, but the fact of the matter is, religiosity, spirituality is a very strong predictive indicator on how people are going to vote. So the fact we saw such dramatic movement with these voters this cycle, and these voters are telling us they're actually taking Christmas, they're taking Christ more with Christmas than these other groups, I think is worth paying attention to. And again, not for nothing, but if you are Christian and, you look at Christmas as, the birth of your Savior, and, not only that, but, indicative or the embodiment of your values, then this is a really good sign for you. This is very positive for you. You should take this as gospel. Like good news, the meaning of gospel, the real true meaning, the actual translation of the word, the good news. It's good news for you. All right. Do you exchange gifts? All right. Whoops. Oh, and by the way, I almost gave away something. Do you exchange gifts? Of course. 92% of us will exchange gifts with our friends and families. All right. Do we have to go through the, when you're a little bit younger, maybe you exchange at a little less rate? Well, of course, right? Maybe you're not into your own economically yet. But as it gets up to the 40 to 49 category, where you're at your kind of peak before you're ready to settle down and save, right? You're giving it 94%, right? And then it tapers down from there, which we shouldn't be really surprised about. Now, here's a very, very, very key, and then I'm going to have to take a break real quick. But this is a very key question in the Christmas Bowl. It's huge. Remember, we say, do you or your family do the following to celebrate Christmas or not? Reflect on or celebrate the birth of Christ, because of course, that is what Christmas is really all about. Yes, we can say that we celebrate it with our friends and families. All right. But the fact of the matter is, this is a holiday to celebrate the birth of Jesus if you believe that Jesus was the Messiah, the Son of God, right? 66%, about 2/3, which is basically what it was last year. It was a little bit higher last year, but it's basically the same. Say that they will. And where did this come from? Where did a decline among 65 to 74-year-olds? That's and some with super seniors too, but it looks like most of that decline, almost all of it. Yeah. So 70 back in 2023 said that they would reflect on and celebrate the birth of Christ. Seniors, not super seniors, seniors are now down to 65.8. So that's a pretty dramatic difference. Super seniors, who remained kind of Trumpy anyway, they were 68.9 last year. So they really didn't change, 67.7. This group, and if you're listening, we go on and talk about the midterms, and in the future, of course, we're going to have another presidential election, and we're going to be talking about this group, and did they age out and age into the super senior group, and we're going to, discuss who are these people, and you're going to hear the media say seniors are getting much more Democratic, right? Well, they weren't seniors before. Will they, and will these younger voters get more Republican? Because, of course, value voting is a thing. And again, I don't mean to taint it, but I think I have to point out the significance of what some of these poll results are when it comes to predicting behavior. What is the predictive value of some of these questions? Well, if you ask Gallup, if you were to ask Frank Newport over at Gallup, who was the editor-in-chief for years, or now Linda Syed, or, even before that, George himself, they would tell you this is immensely important and has extremely high predictive value. Unless, of course, the parties somehow switch. 10 years, Democrats are the party of Christians and faith voters, and it flips, Again, look at the 25 to 29. 70.7 above the national average. And that 40 to 49, right? And by the way, 50 to 64 is no slouch. So we'll see. But I think it's very, very much in line with what we had seen before. So it's like this is all adding up to a certain story that this poll is telling when it comes to the future of these values in this holiday, right? Will you attend Christmas parties? 2/3 will attend a Christmas party, roughly 67%. 30% will not. Again, 25 to 29 going out to get holly jolly. But a lot of people will be attending Christmas parties. It obviously is going to taper off as we see these voters get older because, of course, who the hell wants to go to a Christmas party at 78 years old? I mean, I hope I want to. I just don't see that that's going to happen. We can go and take a break real quick. Kill this right here. Take a break. We'll come back in a bit and finish the rest of this. But look, folks, there is most definitely a new dawn. Very soon, Trump will be back in office, and RFK is taking over the CDC, NIH, FDA. Get ready for a shakeup. RFK posted himself, the FDA's war on public health is about to end, calling out the suppression of treatments like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and even essential vitamins. The wellness company is already ahead of the curve with emergency kits that are stocked with these limited access medications. These kits cut through the red tape, especially during the holidays when getting sick during travel is a norm. Be prepared for over 30 illnesses without stepping into an urgent care and tackling the issue head on before it develops. Talking ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, Z-Paks, amoxicillin, everything you need to take control of your health. Their guidebook outlines common treatments for things like UTIs, strep, bacterial infections, respiratory illnesses, much more. All it takes is filling out a digital intake form and your kit arrives at your door within 1 to 2 weeks. And they even have emergency kits for kids. No more sick inconveniences during the holidays. Order your kit now. Head to twc.health/TPP. Links in the description. Use the code TPP to save up to $30 off and free shipping. Tell you what, U.S. residents only. I'm sorry if, I always have to give that little apology at the end there. But the link is in the description, twc.health/TPP. Go save yourself $30 off. Where do I want to go real quick from here? Do I want to take a 30-second break? You mind if I take a 30-second break and go grab my cup of coffee here? Let's do that. All right, stay tuned. Don't leave. We're watching Inside the Numbers. Don't forget, if you like the video, to like them, subscribe, and share far and wide. But, of course, the best place is right there, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. If you'd like to support the Christmas poll and the Public Polling Project, the link is also in the description. We'll be back. 30 seconds. All right, we're back with the coffee. Okay, let's see. What do we want to do next? Let's go. I do want to touch on some of the political stuff here. We can just kind of postpone the results of the Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index until Friday's show because I did not get the relative values for them yet, but I can tell you this unequivocally. The economic confidence in this country has soared after the election of Donald Trump, which it did in 2016. But there is a big difference here. Number one, the Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index wasn't around during the 2016 election. So I don't really have a benchmark, apples to apples to compare it to. But of course, you have the Consumer Sentiment Index, you have the Survey of Consumers, right? You have Rasmussen's Business and Economic Confidence Index. So there's a lot there. And it all showed what it showed. But confidence, even for Joe Biden, dipped a little after Trump lost, but it cratered after Joe was in office and then never came back. So, yeah, we'll save that and we'll save a few other things, but there are some things that I do want to share with you. I already have them ready. I'd have to get rid of this crosstab though, because I'm not ready to make that publicly yet. Let's finish the Christmas poll and then I will show you the back end, from what I see when I'm in market site. I will show you the back end of it. I'll drag the questions in there so you can see the results. All right. I'm just not going to hit save yet because I don't want to make them public yet until we go over them on Friday's show, which, by the way, just let me say this now, just get this out of the way. It is December 18th. Okay. I have some projects that I have to wrap up before the new year, including one that might require me to go to Phoenix before Christmas. And if you've been following me for a long time, you know that I absolutely hate traveling before Christmas. I don't like it. I've almost been stranded before Christmas from snow. Like once I had to go through a terrible Midwestern storms and snowstorms that I barely landed at Newark Airport. I was kissing the ground, and it's disgusting if you've ever been in Newark. So that's how bad that flight was. When I worked in financial industry, and it was like some really, in truth, in hindsight, it did not require me to risk my life or my holiday. So I've always hated it since then. I used to love to travel. And then I made an exception, if you guys remember. Well, I got subpoenaed. There's not a whole lot I could do about it. But I had to testify in Arizona with the Kerry Lake case, and I almost got stranded again. My American Airlines flight was canceled. I almost missed Christmas Eve. I'm Italian, Holmes. All right? Like, Christmas Eve is a big deal. The Feast of the Seven Fishes is a big deal. And I almost missed it. And honestly, I don't even mind saying this because I didn't even know it was him who took care of it. Later, I found out later. The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, got me a flight, like a little airplane to fly around the snowstorm. And he just did it. The guy takes so much crap. Before you make fun of Mike Lindell, and believe me, I've heard him say some stuff. All right. Ask yourself if you've ever done that, or if you had the money, would you ever do that for somebody to make sure that they got home on Christmas? I don't even know Mike that well. I've maybe said 3-4 sentences to Mike. Yeah, I met him once. My daughter loved his commercials. So when I saw him, I was like, "Hey, Mike, man, I got to get this for my daughter. Do me a favor. Let me get a little vid real quick for her." And that was it, And then, of course, you see each other passing in green rooms and stuff like that. But I do not know the man, and he still did that. Anyway, there is a lot of snow around the country, or there could be even worse. And I don't really want to get stuck out there. And I have that. I got the Turning Point straw poll, which is really cool, and it deserves my attention. So, just expect that I'm probably after Friday going to take a little break, and I'm going to pop in and out of locals, do my little shorts. We always do. Laura and I always celebrate the holidays with locals, but as far as the show goes, I think, you'll see me doing hits on other people's shows. By the way, Battleground Live at 5 with Sean Parnell tonight. Don't miss it. But I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break. And then come the new year, we'll be back. And book club will be back, by the way. But yeah, it was a very long election. All right. It was a long election. And the kids, man, my oldest is like exempt from exams, but like, the hell do these schools need my kids this long for? Like, Christmas break should be at the latest December 15th. And they got like 3 weeks in January. So if I want to spend any time with them, I'd like to do it, because I don't get to go on spring breaks and stuff like that. I really just wish, though, this schedule was totally different. December 15th to January 5th or something. Instead, it's this Friday, so December 19th to like January, what is it? 13th. Who the hell celebrates Christmas after the New Year? There are things I want to do. Freaking schools, man. All of a sudden, they couldn't get off their Zooming asses. Now, all of a sudden, they want to have school until Christmas Eve. Let's get back to it. Speaking of Christmas, let's get back to being holly jolly. Needed to vent there for a second. All right. Right. Attend Christmas parties. Is this down? Concert or play? What was a concert of play last year? Slightly. It's down a little bit. Christmas parties was 2/3. So that's up a hair. Attend a Christmas concert or play last year was 43.6%. This year it's 40.5%. Right. So you know what? Less disposable income to go to the Nutcracker. After Bidenomics, what can I tell you? Real tree or artificial tree? Real tree. It made some headway this year, folks. It just wasn't a whole lot. All right, for my real tree lovers out there, it's up from 35.8% who say they prefer a real tree from last year to 36.7%. Little noise. Artificial is still 57.8%. We just had a lot more. We had more people last year tell us that they had no opinion. It was 57% who said artificial tree last year. So that actually is 57 point something. I can't see the dot there. I'm looking at the data wrap. And then no opinion was 6.6. This year, the no opinion is 5.5. So, chalk it up to that. I don't really see anybody who really prefers that much more. Maybe the 40 to 49. That's my category. We all look, we have the, and I'll just tell you, we have the Biltmore spruce from Balsam Hill. That is our artificial tree that my wife does. And locals, this. Magnificent. I mean, that is the word. It is magnificent. Is this like a magnificent? Magnificent. Tongue twister. Magnificence? Is that or no? Anyway, absolutely gorgeous. And then we have the real tree, which is we usually get like a 4-footer, 5-footer, something 5 foot. We let the kids decorate with their own, so they stay the hell off of our Biltmore collection. I'm not gonna lie, man. I only got like 3 of those bells left from grandma. Okay. I used to stare into those bells. I should get one and show you guys. I'll definitely show you guys on locals. I used to stare into these bells with the lights glistening off of them, shimmering, shining off of them. And I could just get lost. They were so pretty. And then, you have kids and they break like 2 out of the 5 set or something. It's awful. So, and I have stuff from my mother who's now since passed, obviously. Mom has since passed, and I just don't even want to take them out. I will take them out when the kids are all old and the hell out of the house, right, Laura? I mean, right? That's when we'll bust them out and do a second tree with it. But we have our own too, and we've been collecting them from ourselves for a very long time. And then we do the real tree for the kids because of the smell. We want the smell. We like, everyone says the needles are a pain in the butt, folks. I like the needles, It's like, do I like cleaning them? No, but that's part of Christmas. It's part of the Christmas tree thing. And then we'll even get another one for the display outside, and I'll string lights around it outside, because our display outside, as you guys on locals know, is like a forest of it's just a forest scene of wicker Christmas decorations with angels and snowmen, along with forest animals, and it's very pretty, but always clear, not ice white, clear lights. So we'll sometimes get a real tree to make it look that much more like a woodsy scenario. We get high winds here, though. We get high winds by the water, so it's tough. You got to stake the hell out of everything. Speaking of which, my angel's down again, isn't she? I had to buy stakes from Ace Hardware that are like 3 feet. I'm not kidding. And I have to go out there with a mallet and drive it into the ground. All right. Thinking of the way you personally celebrate Christmas, is it a strongly religious holiday, somewhat religious holiday, or not too or somewhat religious, or not too religious? Honestly, this didn't really change all of that much. It is still incredible to me that nearly 70% of the country say that it's a 66 percent of the country say that it is a religious holiday to them. Another 30 say not too religious, but not that it's not religious, right? But still not too religious. So again, that's a lot more than those who would tell you, yeah, right. The vast majority of the country they're telling you that they believe in God. And remember when we talked about, do you reflect on the birth of Christ? I mean, you have still 2/3 that are telling you that it's not just Christmas to them, like that. And what is Christmas, folks? Again, that it's the celebration of the birth of the Son of God. If you believe in if you're a Christian, right? So there it is. I mean, so it's way higher of a number than those who will tell you that they are religious themselves or they are spiritual themselves. And I think that, again, is a failing of the church itself. Wow. An hour went by real quick. I'll probably wind up going over a hair here, but preferred Christmas color scheme, again, signature red and green wins the day. I hear Lord, whoop, 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 whoop. This is actually up. This is up a few points. It was roughly 57 last year. It's now approaching 60. Classic red and white came in at second with 19.5. That's down slightly from a little over 20. Metallic silver and gold, in both metallic silver and gold and Victorian blue and white silver, for multiple years in a row now, have been almost identical in their share. All right. This time it's 7.4 and 7.3. Last year they were both 7.8. All right. But so down a little bit. Pink and champagne rose gold, 3.9. That's almost identical to last year, which was 4.1. 2.8 is the other. Oops. Oh man, it looks like I obviously snuck the Trump question in there already. All right. Well, looks like I'm going to have to give that to you now, since you already were there. I did just want to write in and I not write it. I wanted to show you guys what people wrote in. Where is that section? Preferred Christmas color scheme. Why is that not in that section? I always put them all in the same section. So that should be in the Christmas section. Why is it not? Did I accidentally put it in the registered voter economic confidence? Voter screens? No. Maybe because it's a text. I didn't assign text to the crosstab. It's possible. But of course it's in text format with people telling us. But let me go to the variables and I'll read some of them for you. Let's see. Where are you? It should be just in questions or in the Christmas ball section. What are the values? Oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to have to look the old-fashioned way. They include things like rustic. And do you remember last year, until I started seeing the responses, I forgot that we were going to add some of the more Like some people are like Nordic this and rustic log cabin and I'm like, oh yeah, these repeatedly come up every year. Plaid and this, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it was too late. So next year I just have to make a mental note or something to remind myself that once again we must amend this question and add and give them a chance. They're not going to come in very high, but if I feel like if you're repeatedly seeing the same things every year, it probably deserves its own category. Probably deserves its own response option, right? All right, let's look at Trump's favorability, which is astonishingly high. Yep, you're looking at that correct. 53%. 53% of the public have a favorable opinion of Donald Trump. About 45% have an unfavorable opinion. You'll notice that very unfavorable is in the 30s. It's been like that for a long time. And honestly, it gets even worse for them as we go. Let me swap screens here. Worse for the never Trump crowd, the Trump hate crowd. It gets worse for them as we go. Let me swap screens here and then you'll see. Okay. So here's what I see. And then I built a crosstab for you by simply dragging and dropping the things. We asked about a lot of stuff. So do you, and by the way, I just didn't do this yet. They're coming up though. And what you're going to find from like Hegseth, Gabbard, Patel is that people just don't know who they are. In Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard ran for president in 2020, but of course she didn't make it to a contest. Most people don't know who they are. So this idea that there's some enormous opposition at Trump's cabinet picks is absolutely ludicrous, because when you ask the more general question about whether you approve of how Donald Trump is handling the transition, right, like his cabinet picks and all of this, you will see that Americans overwhelmingly approve of it. They just don't really know who those people are. But generally speaking, they trust Trump. And not generally, they do. And how do we know that? By other things that we'll show you Friday, which was simply asking people, how much confidence do you have in Donald Trump's ability to address each of the following issues? And we asked right here, you can see the economy and jobs, inflation and cost of living, immigration and border security, crime and safety, national security and foreign policy, labor and union issues, preserving Social Security and Medicare, threats to democracy and corruption, the Russo-Ukrainian war, Israeli-Palestinian conflict. You may recognize all of them. Why? Because they were repeatedly the top issues, and some of them obviously were very minimal in scope, but comparatively. But they were still, nevertheless, the issues that came up as the number one issues over and over and over and over again throughout the election cycle. Obviously, the economy, cost of living, immigration, and then, things like threats to democracy, that came later. But we wanted to ask that stuff because that is what got him elected. And then there are some other things. Crime and safety, not huge, but certainly on there. What about national, especially since the FBI has been fudging numbers for 4 years for Joe Biden? Now we got the real numbers, and violent crime is actually through the roof. Who could trust these people? Who could trust this government? They never tell the truth. The Pentagon. What drones? What orbs? That was the official statement for a week, folks, until video ended up all over the internet. We don't see no orbs, man. We don't see no drones. So full of crap, man. They never tell you the truth. Never. Anyway, of course, we have 2 wars going on. One could turn nuclear. I know, you call me hyperbolic all you want. It is absolutely a problem that Joe Biden greenlit the use of intercontinental ballistic missiles. So while we're at it, let's get to rows. There's Trump's favorability. What else we can see here? I'll give you some peeps on a few things here. Okay. Satisfaction with the outcome of the election. I'm not giving you everything, so don't get mad at me. I'm just going to give you a few things. Actually, let's put that one back and let's do transition first. Then satisfaction with the outcome of the election. Because I am running out of time, but I do want to give you a sneak peek. All right, we'll update it. You already have the favorability. Oops. Let's close it up so you can see a little bit better. How well can you see it on your screen? Decent. Decent. It's not great, but decent. I'm going to read it to you anyway. Okay. I'm going to show you two things, age and race. Race first. Okay. Look at Donald Trump's favorability rating with Hispanics. Yup. Donald Trump has a majority positive, more positive than the nation overall. Well, I would say that because there's less people who loathe him. So Trump hate is highest among older black voters, even though he won so many black votes that Republicans have shown no ability to win whatsoever. The older black vote, which is still very much connected to the mindset of the civil rights era, they are number one. Behind them is a subgroup of Asians and some other non-whites. But of course, whites aren't that far behind. And who are they? Of course, liberal, credentialed, professional class, wannabe elites and elites. And they are white. Meanwhile, of course, the highest, very favorable, is, of course, still of whites. Behind that, however, is Hispanics. And combined, Hispanics, 53% have a favorable have a favorable view of Donald Trump. Only 42.5% have a unfavorable opinion of him. So he is plus 10 if we round anyway, if we were to round, because it's 42.5. So let's round. It would bring it to 43. And since it's 53 positive, Trump is plus 10 with Hispanic voters. Plus 10. It is a changing world, folks. Republicans, are you going to be so stupid that you cannot hold on to these voters? I really wonder. I will forever question your ability not to screw things up. I mean, you're just so incredibly stupid that I never give you the benefit of the doubt because you're stupid. And I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, look at this fight over the budget deal right now. Nobody wants this bill. Folks, nobody wants this bill. The only ones who want it are Democrats. It will rely on Democratic votes to get the bill passed. That's number one. I don't know what I don't know what the hell they're thinking. I honest to God, it's a topic for another day. But in any event, they don't have these numbers with non-white voters, let alone Hispanics, right? Now let's look by age. Let's go to detail. Look at that. I mean, he's tied with 50 to 64, but the 25 to 29 category again combined. And we're not the only ones, by the way. Patrick Ruffini was like, yo, you seeing this? Age? He tweeted out, yo. I mean, he didn't do that, but anybody else seeing this? I see it. Clear as day. That's 57%. 56%. Excuse me. Come on. 56% favorable. And among those with a very favorable opinion, they are the largest group outside of 50 to 64 who basically tie them. But the 50 to 64 actually is a slightly lower, somewhat favorable. So it's taken together, combined, the 25 to 29 is like solid for Donald Trump. Solid. You may notice that some of these older voters have an unfavorable opinion of Donald Trump. Some of those very same voters, basically Ebenezer Scrooge. It's true. I'm not making fun of anybody. It's the truth. I mean, if I am, I don't mean to make fun of them. It's just the reality. Humbug. Back away, Braddock. That's who doesn't like Donald Trump. The dude who takes the gold coins off his dead friend's eyeballs before he puts them into the ground. Dubbins. That's who doesn't like Donald Trump. You want to see some nested variables? I got you. It's true, man. Trump transition approval coming in hot. Wow. You see it. Only 28% of registered voters strongly disapprove of how Donald Trump is handling this transition, and only another 10% somewhat disapprove. That's it, folks. 34.3% strongly approve of it, and another 20% somewhat approve of it. So taken together, you're looking at a 54 rounding. We're rounding here. We're rounding. 54 to 38. Yo. Yo. Ask me any time before the midterm elections in 2022 whether I would ever believe I would see numbers like that for Donald Trump. And basically the answer is absolutely not. Some weird things kind of going on there, but you can clearly see here you got some seniors that really, really like Donald Trump and some seniors that really, really don't like Donald Trump. Ebenezer Scrooge, remember? And then you have this like heartbeat of the age groups because why am I saying the heartbeat? Because they will soon be the biggest categories. They're not now, but he has taken hold of the largest growing categories in the country. And those who don't like him are about to be where Jacob Marley was when Scrooge took the coins off his eyes. Hey, I'm trying to stick with the Christmas theme here, okay? Let's go and look at race detail. Astonishing. Black support for Donald Trump is maintaining at ridiculous highs. But of course, you can see Hispanics yet again are positive and majority positive. Whites are the most, of course, no shocker there. But actually, you have slightly more whites than Hispanics strongly disapproving of Trump. So you're looking at like old, educated, wannabe elites, credentialed Scrooges. And that's, I mean, behind African Americans who are older African Americans, again, very much still connected to the civil rights era, you know? All right. Presidential election outcome satisfaction. You'll see in about a minute and a half after we get done with this quick word from our sponsors. Yeah, I know I did it. Bear with me. 1 minute here. Look, two things that Laura and I always do when we get to the end of the year. We always say, okay, where can we give a little bit more to charity before the year closes out? And two, what else can we do to protect our financial situation or diversify? And if you're looking to do either one of the latter, then I got to tell you, the guys at Freedom Gold are the way to go. All right. Whether you are looking to diversify or you're looking for protection, right? Or you just want a little bit more information on buying gold or silver, give them a buzz over at the number that's just for us, but always cool when you tell them the People's Pundit sent you. 888-279-3592. What I love about these guys, aside from the fact that they lowered their cap way beyond lowered their minimum requirement way beyond anything you'd see from other people, and that's just $500, by the way. They just really want to make sure that you have enough information to make a confident decision. So when you do, you feel good about it. And there's no hard sell. And that's a big deal to me when I'm recommending you call anybody. But they have some great deals out there, including our little raffle, which is that when you do call and you open an account or you just are serious, you go into a raffle and somebody's going to win some free gold and free silver. I don't know, Laura. Are we doing that before the holiday? Do we find out if we have any winners before the holiday? All right. We very well might. All right. And then we bring them on and they tell you who they are and we get to celebrate with all of you. So, which is very, very cool. Doesn't even matter which deal you take advantage of, whether it's that or you get a $500 credit for opening a new gold or silver IRA. You will get you can get a $500 credit for that, but you will still get free shipping and insurance on all orders. Just go to the website, check out what offer you may qualify for. freedomgold.com.com/rich. It's on the screen. You can't get it wrong. The link's also in the description. Or you can give them a buzz at, again, 888-279-3592, 888-279-3592. All right. Let's get back. By the way, there will be a press release with the Christmas poll. I'll put it all up there and everything. Yada yada yada. Right. Because apparently it's like so hard to find our crosstabs or something. Sorry, I was a little busy. Trump transition approval, very, very, very high. So obviously that would bode well for or it would bode, maybe it's not that obvious, but it should bode well for the election outcome. How do people feel about how this election shook out? And actually, before we get into that, you can't look. Okay, we have to do age first. Only 29% are very dissatisfied with the outcome of this election, the presidential election. 41% are very satisfied, folks. Very. Another 14.6 somewhat satisfied. Taking it all together, you're looking at 56% of that's it. 56% are satisfied with the outcome of the presidential election. Whoa. Combined, only 39% are dissatisfied, less than 40. Almost, but less. Another 5.4 are unsure. And as we went over on the little sneak peek with locals, you could see how many Harris voters are straight up lying to us about voting for Harris. Trump support, like when we asked the recall question, and this is another problem with waiting for recalled vote. I'm telling you, I keep saying it. People don't want to hear it. New York Times, you don't want to hear it. I'm telling you. People lie. People lie. People pretend like they don't know. They prefer not to say. Trump's support is like almost flawless. It's like 0.1% off his actual popular vote share right now. Harris is several points below because two things are happening. Well, three things. Some of her vote is saying they voted for somebody else, a third party. Some of her vote is saying they prefer not to answer, and some of her vote is saying they voted for Donald Trump. We know all three are lies, but they're doing that, and that's what happens. Biden's voters did it too. So if you wait for recalled vote, it's risky. Risky. Now, we're looking at it by age. And like I said before, look at the 30 to 39. Look at the 25 to 29. Look at the 40 to 49. That's almost 60%, folks. Some big numbers, especially with younger voters. Look at that number with 18 to 24-year-olds. Look at that number. I dare you. I triple dog dare you to find somebody you can make an argument could ever get numbers like this with younger people. This is why I'm saying, like, Republicans like on the Hill are doing jumping jacks. Yeah, we're coming in January with the new thing and blah, it's going to be so great. We'll see. I tend to favor the argument that this is Trump related still, and they have yet to earn the support of these voters. Now let's look by race before we wrap it up, and I'll let you digest it, locals and YouTube members. I'll let you digest it on your own a little bit more before we get into Friday. There's a lot more that's going to be added to this crosstab, so do not go anywhere, and we'll have an update for the Economic Confidence Index, which is going to explode. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to spike. It's not even the current conditions index. It's the 6-month outlook that's about to blow up. Now, the current conditions is still higher than it's been in, I don't know, I don't want to guess, but it's been a long time since we've seen this level of positive views in this index, in the sub indicators for current or the 6-month outlook. But the current business conditions and current employment conditions are going to increase a little bit, but it's the 6-month outlook, especially the 6-month outlook on total family income, that is going to erupt. All right, so there you have it. Ridiculously high levels of non-white support. End of story. Story closed. I mean, it's right in front of you. Of course, white voters are the ones who really push those numbers up, of course. But again, whites, very dissatisfied. Compared to Hispanics, less. Hispanics say they're very dissatisfied. It's a big deal. Astonishing how many the age disconnect. Something's going to happen with the African American community because the age disconnect here is like at 45 and below have totally different views than 45 and then well, I would say below 45, especially below 40, have totally different views, it seems, than those who are above the age of 45 or 45 and above. Let's actually give them the 45. I think we're going to see radical change in the midterm with black voters, especially if Democrats keep it up. I mean, let's, all things, I don't want to say staying the same, but if we were to keep on the current trajectory. And again, do not forget that variable of Republican stupidity. Boy, that's something. All right, like I said, locals, this will update. You will see this thing just keep getting bigger and bigger. All right, the no share rule is in effect for a little bit. Okay, all right. The no share rule's in effect. Same thing with you. If you are a YouTube member, you can go to the community page on YouTube right now and you will find where I posted it just for members. You will see it grow and grow and grow as I add more of these questions and more of these nested variables. We got education by race that we're going to add in there. We have education by gender, education by, race and gender, and then we'll probably nest them both together even. And then since it's the Christmas poll, we're going to have white evangelicals broken up and separated. We'll have a bunch of like sub demographics that will nest, which I think are telling. They're telling. All right, so you'll start to see this thing get much bigger when I hit the save button alone right now, which I have not done yet because, I want to go over most of it on Friday. And no matter how many times I say the no share rule, somebody's putting it on X. It happens all the time. Seth, I'm looking at you, buddy. Nah, I don't know if it's him or not, but somebody's doing it. And it's all right, I guess. It's just that kind of blows the content before Friday, So Battleground Live at 5. Don't forget, I'll be on with Sean Parnell at 5 o'clock. We're going to talk about the Christmas poll. It's going to be very cool. We're going to talk about some other stuff. And I, if there's another announcement, I'll post it up there. But of course, as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to share them far and wide, like them and share them far and wide, and subscribe. If you're over on YouTube, it would be great if you could mosey on over to Rumble and do the same there, please. All right. But of course, the best place to follow us is right there on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. Links to the description are all below. If you'd like to support the public polling project, such as the Christmas poll, you can do so down in the link below, which would be great because nobody did. And I just polled it anyway, because it's Christmas and I knew it. I knew that was probably going to happen. But that's what helps keep it all afloat. But again, see you guys later tonight, if nothing else, and see you on Friday for the rest of this poll and the rest of Inside the Numbers. Stay holly jolly, folks. Stay holly jolly. I'm going to decorate. I don't know about y'all. I'm going to decorate. I'm going to go join my wife and make the tree. Well, no, I'm not touching her tree. I'll do whatever else she needs me to do. Merry Christmas.